And we're back. Second segment of the TD show. Had a great first segment. We're going to build on that now. We're talking about the matchups this weekend coming up, which fits exactly into what the strong words from a manly man are this week. So let's get the guarantees from TJ.
Now, time for strong words from a manly man.
They say he has grit. I want a man with grit.
If you're looking for trouble, I'll accommodate you. Otherwise, leave it alone.
All right. Y'all know that I said I like San Fran to win, but I thought the game was going to be more about the defense than the quarterbacks in the rushing game. Here is my guarantee of the week. There will be under 20 completions in the San Fran-Seattle game tomorrow. Under 20 completions.
Write that down, short term.
That is short term. You will know tomorrow night whether I am wrong or I am right.
All right. Speaking of NFL news, what we've got going on, we're going to get a couple of predictions of the week, and we're going to talk about the big hire down in Nashville. We've got Baker from Brownsville on the line. Baker, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Good morning, fellas.
How's it going, man?
Hey, it's going all right.
How are things holding up in Brownsville this morning?
Well, everything's still standing.
Good.
Everything's going good.
Give us a little bit of what you think about the games this weekend.
Well, I've been going back and forth on the NFC championship game. And I initially was kind of giving the edge to the 49ers, but after thinking about it, I just kind of trust Russell Wilson a little bit more than Colin Kaepernick, even though I think it's going to come down more to Marshawn Lynch and, of course, the home field advantage for Seattle at Quest Field. So I'm going to give a slight edge to Seattle, maybe a 20-17 game there. In the AFC game, I cannot see Peyton Manning Broncos losing. I see them going all the way to the Super Bowl and winning it. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, but Denver prevail maybe by 7 or 10 points.
All right. Speaking of that, how about on the Facebook poll? Whose career would you rather have, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady?
Well, I think as far as numbers, if you were more of a guy that would rather have good numbers, I think it would be hard not to say Peyton Manning, but you also can't argue with Tom Brady's 3 Super Bowl rings. Peyton Manning's just one. So if I had to choose, I would probably, right now, as it stands, I would go with Tom Brady.
Oh, you would be a Brady man.
I would. I would choose his career over Peyton Manning.
You take the 3 Super Bowl rings, the model wife, and you'd sell the high-end cologne.
Now, Peyton Manning, I don't think Peyton Manning's wife is too shabby.
No, she looks good too. She looks good too.
No, I thought we were going to be in complete agreement on everything there. Till we got to Peyton Manning, I think I'd rather have his life. Big news though in the NFL, aside from what's going on this weekend with the playoffs, are some of the hires. Now we know that one of these hires and one of these teams is pretty near and dear to you, something you follow pretty closely. What do you think about Wisenhunt coming to Nashville?
I think from day one, even before we learned that Munchak was leaving, of course there was a cloud going over Nashville about very possibility of Munchak leaving. I thought even before he left, the number one person that I hope they would get would be Wisenhunt. And the biggest reason for that is the way he develops quarterbacks. He was with Ben Roethlisberger during his first 2 years there, and you saw the evidence of what happened in Pittsburgh. And then you see Kurt Warner having a disastrous part of his career in New York with the Giants. He comes to Arizona and sort of has his career resurrected with Wisenhunt. And then, after having 2 mediocre years with Arizona, he gets fired, of course, and goes to San Diego. Phillip Rivers is at a crossroads of his career, I believe. And then you saw what happened last year with him, Phillip Rivers having a monster year. And I think that this past year's kind of propelled Phillip Rivers into a top 5 quarterback. So I think that's kind of what Wisenhunt can do. And I think they should give Walker 1 year to work with him, and then, this will be a make or break year for him.
I like Locker a lot. I do think just pure quarterback talent. he is very good. He's undeveloped. He tends to get hurt. If he can stay healthy, I do think Locker can have a big impact, especially in a system designed by Wisenhunt. I'll agree that I think that is a great fit there in Tennessee. Do you like Locker? Do you think he should stick around more than a year? What do you think?
I think we should see. Hopefully, he'll stay healthy the whole year. I think he deserves one more year. And if you look at it before he got hurt, you look at the first, of course, he got hurt in the middle of his fourth game. You look at his first 3.5 games of the year. Locker, of course, had no turnovers. He had 6 touchdowns. I think that he was on pace to have 3,300 passing yards, 27 touchdowns. He had 62% completion rate, which is respectable. I think he was on his way to having a breakout year, if not for the injury.
Yeah, I mean, something that I said last week, of course, I didn't like the firing. I like the hiring, but as a part of the firing, I believe if Locker's the quarterback all year last year, or this past year, they win 10 games and make the playoffs, and Munchak doesn't get fired.
I agree. I think that 6th spot for the wild card in the AFC was wide open, and I think if Locker was healthy and barring any other injuries, I think they would have taken that spot running away with it.
Something that came out yesterday, I believe it was, Leinart on Fox Sports Live, former Arizona backup quarterback, I guess he was started for a little while, came out and said that he didn't think Wisenhunt was a great fit, didn't think it was great timing by the Titans. Basically said that any success that happened at Arizona under him was on behalf of Kurt Warner. Did you see those comments?
Yeah, and I was listening to Mike and Mike when Mike and Mike asked him about it. Asked Wisenhunt about it, and it was a class act by Wisenhunt because instead of he just sort of blew it off, but what he should have said was Matt who. What relevancy did Matt Leinart have? He's probably just mad because he got benched and blamed all his failures on Wisenhunt. Well, I mean, when you have 15 touchdowns and 27 turnovers, I mean, what relevancy do you have to even speak down?
Right. Right. And something that I thought this kind of touched on apart from the Titans was the whole Detroit Lions job. How we've seen a few coaches here skip over that job in order to take other jobs.
And arguably have the most talent of any of the most healthy and young and fresh talent open. They've got Megatron, they've got Reggie Bush looking good, they got Matthew Stafford. I mean, what do you think about that?
That was surprising to me too. Of course, I think you have to give Rustin Webster, the GM for the Titans, a lot of credit for attracting Wisenhunt to Nashville because, I mean, everybody just assumed that based on, like you said, they probably have to say that talent-wise, Detroit is the most attractive job. But, but Rustin Webster, Wisenhunt said himself, it was based on his relationship with them on how they hit it off. That's the main reason why he come to Nashville. So, yeah, it was surprising to me too. But I think the Lions, there wasn't a whole lot of options left out there after Wisenhunt left. They got probably the best available coach in Jim Caldwell.
Yeah, I think one of the more impressive things about him coming to Tennessee is, I mean, obviously money had to do a little bit with it. I think his contract was longer, and he got about $1 million more per year than he would have got with Detroit. But he said at first glance, the Lions roster looks more attractive. But when you try to look at how deep it is, it's going to be a lot harder to build a roster around Stafford, Johnson, and Sue when they're making $50 million combined. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to build a lot more widespread talent in Nashville.
Another thing in Nashville, we know that they're probably about to cut 2 big money guys. They're going to have plenty of cap room for him to go out and get who he wants to fit his season and his style. He doesn't have anybody locked in for big contracts. They've got some draft picks. They've got some money available to go look for people. I think he'll be able to build something around Locker and around the style that he wants to run and put his system in place.
They don't have a lot of money really tied up in anybody after this year.
Yeah, they need to get rid of 2 players before they do anything, and that's Kenny Britt, first of all, and then Chris Johnson.
Yeah, I think that's something we both assume that they're going to do.
It's going to happen. We think that's going to happen this offseason. Probably sooner rather than later.
Yeah. All right, well, Baker, we appreciate you joining us this morning.
Oh, all right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Have a good day. Yeah, some good insight there. A guy that really has a lot of knowledge about what goes on in the Titans organization, likes to keep up with that. Knows a lot of people down there and kind of what's happening. I agree with him. I think it's a great hire. I didn't think they would ever get Wisenhunt. I thought he would be gone, especially the late firing of Munchak and kind of no plan, it seemed like. Maybe they had this cooked up and we didn't know about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Tennessee was a team I really liked last year. I just think with a new coach coming in, you got a lot to do. I say they probably don't take a step back just because of the way they finished the season.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like they improve immediately next year. But there's definitely room for improvement to be made there. Next, I'd like to talk a little MLB replay. We saw yesterday the owners unanimously approved replay in the MLB playoffs. Managers are going to get at least one challenge, and then if that challenge is upheld, they get a second challenge. But any challenges after the 7th inning have to come from the crew chief.
Right.
So therefore, there's going to be a little gamesmanship in there. If you use it, you need to use it before the 7th inning. Something I thought was interesting, all video replays can be shown on park scoreboards.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they couldn't do that before.
I had noticed that. I noticed a couple times when I was up in Cincinnati, you'd see a close play and everybody would look. Because in other sports, you're used to looking, and you'd look and they'd never show it.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of games, but I just had never paid attention, I guess, that they didn't. Maybe I was already upset or elated.
Yeah, you were so irate you didn't notice.
Yeah, I heard a quote from a MLB umpire talking about this, and he said, "With every close play, you earn a temporary friend and a permanent enemy." so every close play, you're either going to be really upset or really happy.
Yeah, and basically it touches everything except balls and strikes. You got home runs, ground rule doubles, fan interference, boundary calls, plays at first base, force plays, tag plays, fair and foul and trap plays, hit by pitch. And it says, and I read that it counts touching the base, but then I read something kind of going against that, saying that the infamous play at second where MLB players never ever touch second base going in. They say that that's not reviewable, so I don't know. I need to look more into that.
First of all, I'm glad that something in the MLB happened in the middle of winter. We're both big baseball fans, like to talk about the MLB, and there's nothing going on.
I mean, it's been a pretty decent winter. I mean, you had the winter meetings, not a whole lot happened there, but then you had the Hall of Fame
that sparked a little discussion.
Yeah.
I don't think it sparked a whole lot of, aside from Dan Levitard, who did a great job.
I wish it would bring more attention and more outrage than what it did.
Yeah. But baseball replay gives us something to talk about, something that's been mentioned and thought about for a long time. A lot of people are going to be reluctant to it just because baseball is reluctant to change in general. I don't really think it's going to cause as much controversy and as much trouble as people really think they are. And I looked up a study that Fox News, Fox Sports started, and then ESPN expanded on it. Let me tell you about it and what they found. Fox Sports did a study using a high-speed camera to watch close calls that umpires made. And they came up with statistics that umpires are right on 99.3% of calls. We probably agree with that. That number seems high, but because we're fans.
Yeah, but I mean, think about how many plays are a game, and you usually have maybe one.
That's including all calls. That was including ball, strike,
right.
Everything. 99.3% of the time. ESPN took that, broke it down, and expanded it. They looked at 184 games with at least 54 field calls, not balls and strikes, not strikeouts to the plate. 54 calls, whether they were safe, out, fair, foul, whatever, in a game. During this game, there were 9,936 calls. And they took those, break it out, and 235 they thought were close calls. Calls that the average fan looking at would have thought went either way, couldn't discern with your naked eye. On those, umpires were right 80% of the time. You think 20% is a big margin of error, but that's a very small amount of calls.
Right.
That was only 47 calls out of 184 games, a total of 9,000, almost 10,000 calls. 47 were wrong. That averages out in that scenario, one call every 4 games. I've heard some stats saying that.
I have to assume that that's including balls and strikes too. Because I'd have a hard time believing that there's 20% of calls in that scenario that aren't balls and strikes that would be made wrong. Wouldn't you think?
I don't know. I don't think it is balls and strikes. I think it's close calls.
So you think 20% of close calls are wrong? Okay, well maybe.
20% of close calls.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm calls that you can't. One thing you find with a close call is that if we, as the fans, sitting there watching live action, can't figure it out. Could go either way. And that's when they looked to replay and they broke it down. One call every 4 games was missed. So there shouldn't be any trouble with only having the one challenge, which is something I heard back in the summer when they first started talking about this. They thought maybe they would have 4 challenges, or they'd have 1 for the first 7 and then 3 for the rest of the game. And people thought they needed more than 1. But realistically, there's always going to be an outlier. But most of the time, you're not even going to have a missed call in a game. I mean, the baseball umpires, I think, probably have above and beyond the highest percentage rate of correct calls in any sport.
But even if, we see this a lot in the NFL, you know that those managers are going to use their challenge at some point, If anything, just to stop a run, that's something we'll probably see. If a team gets hot in the middle of inning, we'll see them use that.
Challenge, slow it down. Or if you're trying to get somebody up in the bullpen, get them warmed up. I don't know how this is going to affect what the timeline's going to be. We know they're going to be reviewed in New York. It's not going to be on the premises.
Right.
Might make it faster. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's something you can use to get some guy hot in the bullpen.
Something that surprised me too. Each team can have a club employee monitoring video
to tell them whether
down in the locker room. Yeah, I found that surprising. The big concern with it is baseball is already such a long sport that this is going to make it longer and harder to watch. And I guess I know me and you are baseball fans, but there's a ton of people our age in our generation that aren't, for that very reason. They find it so hard to watch. And I can see where that's going to be a concern, drawing new, younger generations in to watch this and you making the game longer.
On the flip side of that, I think it could add a little bit of drama. Whereas before, if you get a bad call, nothing you can do about it. Get mad, get thrown out of the game. Now there's a little drama. You have a little sense of equality, a little sense of fairness coming back. Another thing, a call in baseball can have a lot more effect than it can in any other sport. If you think about it, if you've got your number 2 batter up, maybe you've got the first guy out, number 2 batter's up, he hits a double, or maybe he tries to steal third and gets called out. Instead of having a guy in scoring position with a chance to win the game, you might have 2 outs and your 3 guy on base, or maybe 2 outs and your 7 man on base. That one call has a waterfall effect that you don't really see in other sports with calls. In football, in baseball, you could throw a pass and run it 100 yards and score. In basketball, maybe kind of like baseball, you can only get so many points at a time.
So overall, are you on board with this?
I'm on board with it. I went back and forth when I first heard about it. The more I read about it, the more I dug into it. I think it's going to add a little bit of an edge to the game. It might extend a few games. I do think it's going to add a little bit of excitement. I don't have a problem with it. It's not really a knock on umpires. We know how close they get and how well they really do. I think their officiating is great. I don't think it's going to ruin the tradition. If anything, I think it might make the fan experience better just because you can see all the plays in the ballpark. Baseball's already a sport that's better to watch in real life anyway. I'm for it. I don't have any major problems with it.
As long as they don't start touching balls and strikes.
Which I don't think they can or would. It would, A, eat up too much time, and B, we know umpires sometimes have big and small strike zones, generally fairly consistent. It's kind of a personal preference thing. It's been assigned throughout his whole career that it's a judgment call, and it's based on what umpire you get. That's an understood part of the game. It's something that I don't think replay could really affect.
Yeah. There is one thing that I think balls and strike replay could help, though.
What's that?
Umpires showing up players.
Yeah.
I know it's becoming part of the game, but they're basically sitting there taunting the players after they strike out. And if the players was to do the same thing to them, say anything about it, they're gone. So, that's just something that's kind of relevant that rubs me the wrong way. If a guy's out, strike 3, you're out. Not, hoorah!
I don't know. I kind of like this.
I guess
I
actually-
like the punch outs. You know, I've been followed to the dugout in a softball game before, so I mean I've been there.
I guess, speaking of that's probably something that helps generate attention from younger generations.
Yeah.
Is an umpire back there going, hoorah!
You know, I mean, you're out playing. Remember playing ball in the yard as a kid? If somebody struck out, you didn't say strike, you're out. You said hi, ha. You know, you got into it. And I think it gives excitement. I'm okay with it. Those guys make a lot of money.
All right, well, let's transition from talking about MLB expanding replay to NFL expanding the playoffs, and just talk a little bit about the whole playoff structure.
Don't do it.
I mean, there's talks of adding 2 more teams, and the thing that I don't want to see is you adding spots to let in 500 teams, because I believe you're really watering down your product. I believe that the NFL has one of the best playoff systems right now because so few teams get in, much like baseball. Yeah, I don't think they should try to be more like the NBA, where half your league gets into the playoffs.
And I mean, I love the NFL. I'd watch it year round if I could.
Well, most people would.
It's a long season, and you're going to be spreading it out. You're going to be in March, I guess. By the time you'd have the if you added 2 more weeks, it's just I'm not for all of that. Now, the best thing about the NFL to me, and about how things work already right now, is the best of the best. We've seen how good that Peyton Manning's been in the regular season, and how he's had trouble before in the playoffs. And that's because every team in the playoff is legit. I mean, by the time, especially once you get past Wild Card Weekend, a team comes out of Wild Card Weekend and moves in. They all have a chance to win the Super Bowl. You can win the Super Bowl from any spot in the NFL playoffs, and I don't want to see that taken away. What I would like to see, if we're going to change the playoffs, is to restructure the seeding based on how well they did that year, not based on wild cards coming in.
Yeah, I mean, I think if a team goes in as a wild card and they're 13-3, and a division winner gets in at 12-4, that the 13-3 should have a higher seeding than the 12-4.
Yeah.
I mean, they've won. They can't help it that they're playing in a division with a team that's went 15-1. So that's something I would consider before I considered restructuring the playoffs. Even though I can see the argument with it, Arizona was 10-6 this year, didn't make it, and then Chicago was 10-6 last year before, and didn't make it. But then you've got to look at the other side where you would have had Pittsburgh, Baltimore, and Miami. There was a tiebreak. I'm not sure which one would have won it. But they were both 8-8, and they would have gotten into the playoffs as well. So I just feel like you're really watering down your product.
I agree. And one more thing, but touching on the reseeding process, how I like to see it. I've seen the arguments saying that they want to put as much emphasis on the regular season as they can. But here's the thing. Those teams don't pick their schedules. This isn't college football where you can go schedule a cake schedule.
Right,
the NFL sets their schedule for them. They have no control over who they play or when they play them.
I don't think you're de-emphasizing the regular season at all, because that team still has a better Team A, while they didn't win their division, still has a better record than Team B, which did win their division both in the regular season.
If nothing else, it puts more emphasis on the out-of-conference games, the out-of-division games, because every single game affects where you sit in the playoffs if you make it there.
Something else while we're on the topic of the NFL, I know we talked about last week, I believe it was, Jay Gruden going to Washington, the 5th there with RG3. And then we saw this week Mike Zimmer going to Minnesota. I just believe you lose Jay Gruden and you lose your defensive coordinator. I believe that is just as important or more important than losing your head coach.
I agree.
I believe that we're definitely going to see a step backwards from now, even though they've improved every year under Andy Dalton and Jay Gruden. Now with Jay Gruden and Mike Zimmer gone, you have to believe that team takes a step back.
Has to. They've built a system that kind of works for them with Andy Dalton. You almost have to build a system around Andy Dalton to make him successful, and that's what they've done. And now they took both of the pillars that were holding that system up and pulled them out. They had a great defense, one of the better defenses in the league most of the year, an offense that surprised a lot of people based on the talent pool that they really had. And now that's kind of not supported. So I'm worried about Cincinnati next year. Luckily, I'm not a big Cincinnati fan, so it's not going to hurt my feelings if they lose. But I like to see everyone do well. I know everyone can't do well in sports. That's the point. But.
And something real fast we touched on last week, I believe it was, we were talking about Rex Ryan. And it might have been 2 weeks ago. I thought that he deserved another year in New York, even though I didn't think Geno Smith necessarily was a starting quarterback. But and you touched on him having that lame duck feel, and he has another year under his contract, but they signed him to a multi-year extension. Now, I believe that this is one of those fake multi-year extension deals where just because everybody does it, you sign a guy to 3 years with no intention whatsoever of having that guy for 3 years.
Yeah, in the past 5 years or so, it's got a lot worse than it's been. Even in college, and in college, I get it because you want to recruit people. You want your coach to go out and say, "Look, I got this deal for 5 years. I'm here." In the NFL and in college football, it doesn't mean anything. Teams are willing to buy out those contracts. But yeah, I think this is maybe a motivational tactic, if nothing else. Give him a little more control in his locker room for 1 year. That's all I can see it as. Now, I mean, I'm not saying if they don't turn around, things look good, he'll be there for that full time. I think if nothing else, this is a chance to get him some notoriety back.
This is nowhere near you're going to be here guaranteed 3 year deal.
I guarantee. He's definitely going to be here next year. I can't even say beyond that if he's going to be here.
I believe that's something we both agree on. But we're up against the break. Don't forget to refresh your browser. Don't forget to go on Facebook, vote on the Facebook poll. Whose career would you rather have, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady? We'll come back. We'll talk a little college basketball. We'll talk a little Charlie Strong's expectations. He put up his commandments for the Texas football program to see. And then we'll have 2 minutes with Paula Dan.
We'll be back.